we'll move this along, and we'll cover the bumps in the road as we go along that way. It has enormous benefits.
And one more thing with nuclear power, there's a direct correlation between how your closeness to a nearest nuclear power plant and your giving out a social license to have nuclear power. So that during the AUKUS deal, we'll have nuclear submarines. We'll be having submarines on our shows. So we haven't had nuclear power plants so close to us. So in a way, that's a moving nuclear power plant across our shows. So when it stands near near Fremantle, so do you think that that'll create another layer of social license to go nuclear power?
We've had nuclear power plants in Coburn Sound for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
But people aren't told about it. But that nuclear submarine that I was invited to be on board, and I had a cup of coffee and a piece of cake with the captain, that was in Coburn Sound. So we've had these things there for a very, very long time. This is not something that's new.
How far do you think, how do you think if there's a conversation to be had federally and nationally from a point of view of identifying or reducing energy costs for average Australians? And then what kind of energy mix do you think should be discussed openly and freely?
The world has gone past the cost of nuclear power. They're building them all over the world. We ought to bite the bullet. If we are really serious about generating clean, green energy, it has to be nuclear. There's this concept of these photovoltaics or windmills. They have a fairly short lifespan, and they will be very expensive to tear apart and pack away. I think the discussion around nuclear needs to be had, and needs to be had quickly, because, look, we've got the stuff here. The world wants what we've got here, and it's absurd that we're both refusing to mine the stuff and refusing to use it. Our future lies, if people feel that they want to have clean energy, it lies in nuclear.
And have you played with AI? Have you tried using AI in some way or form? I know you're a farmer, but I think you're fairly switched on what you're doing.
Our harvester is fairly AI. It's got 3 screens in the cab. I am very good at fixing a broken shaft, a broken piece of steel, a worn-out bearing, a hydraulic hose. When this artificial intelligence, and it is a pretty clever piece of equipment, it's fantastic when it's working, but when it doesn't work, it shuts the whole system down. So I'm wary of where this might take us to. But I'm absolutely certain that in everything that's ever happened to mankind, including the invention of the motor car, there's an initial hesitancy about the adoption. Look, we'll move this along, and we'll cover the bumps in the road as we go along that way. It has enormous benefits the way future. The bit that does worry me most of all is the capacity to steal someone's identity. That is the really frightening thing, the accumulation of information about individual citizens and the way that it might be used. This is the frightening part about it. And with facial recognition and the capacity to know where everybody is all the time, it would give a government of the wrong persuasion an enormous amount of control over a population. And I think that's what we need to be wary of.
What style of government or what style of mindset from a political point of view works for the rights and freedoms of individuals?
Small government. Yeah, we've allowed the growth of government and bureaucracy in our country to expand almost unchecked. And when you put a building together and fill it up with the bureaucrats, they will scheme as hard and fast as they can to guarantee their position remains intact and not under threat. And the capacity of governments and bureaucracies to steal our freedoms is never ending. And I would always say the smaller the government is, the better government we will be. And I believe in this. There's enormous scope for private enterprise in almost everything, health, education, everything. And yet governments want to be there. And so now we have this incredible transport system in Perth, buses and trains, which is run by government. And to curry favour with the punter, now you can go almost anywhere for nothing. And it's not free. I mean, some poor bastard's paying for it. So when you get on a train trip to go from Mandurah to Joondalup for $2.50, it's probably going to cost about $15 to get you from there to there. So someone has to make up the other bit. Governments ought not to be involved in the provision of services that can be provided by private enterprise. It's the wrong place for them to be, and it allows such enormous distortion And my view on education, I mean, if there's a given amount of money that it costs to educate a child in the public sector, that amount of money should be made available to every citizen in Australia so they can make a choice as to where they send their children to be, I'd say, indoctrinated under the current system. I'd like to say educated under the private system.